declare the Town of Rowley special and annual town meetings of April 30th, 2012 called to order. I have been notified by the Board of Registrars and the Constable that a quorum of at least 100 people are now present. Thank you. You may have noticed, I'm not Joan. Unfortunately, Joan is unable to be with us tonight as she is ill and has made a valiant attempt to be here tonight, but not going well, and she wasn't able to make it. So our first order of business this evening is to hold elections for the position of a temporary moderator for tonight's annual and special town meeting. Do I hear any nominations?
Madam Town Clerk, I move that the town vote to appoint Dave Peterson as acting moderator of April 30th, 2012 special town meeting.
Second.
So we have a nomination, a motion to nominate David Peterson, moved by Selectman Bob Snow, seconded by Selectman Bob Mary. Do I hear any further nominations from the floor? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to close nominations? So moved. Any against? No. Motion to elect David Peterson as temporary moderator for this evening's annual and special town meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? David? Can I, David Peterson,
I, David Peterson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all duties incumbent upon me
and perform all duties incumbent upon me
as moderator of this April 30th, 2012
as moderator of this April 30th, 2012
annual special town meeting,
annual special town meeting,
according to the bylaws of the town and the laws of the Commonwealth.
according to the bylaws of the town and the laws of the Commonwealth.
It's all about the paperwork. Okay, now. So now you're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and all that.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this appointment. My wife is the official moderator. She apologizes for not being here, but due to her health condition with a bad back, there's no way she was going to make it, and no way that she was going to be able to stand up here and do this meeting. So my experience and previous experience with the Board of Selectmen, et cetera, I agreed that if nominated, I would do the job, and you've appointed me to that, and I accept it, and thank you, and we'll move on with the meeting. At this particular point, I would like to ask the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Bob Snow, to lead the group in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Bob Hagopian from the Congregational Church to come up and lead us in a brief opening prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Board of Selectmen, fellow citizens. Let us now, in prayer, ask God's blessing upon our gathering. Let us pray. Oh God, we thank you for our heritage as a nation, as a people, and as a community. Lord, we come together tonight to exercise our rights and to exercise our responsibilities as fellow citizens of this community. We ask your Spirit to bless each of us, to grant us wisdom and insight and patience, to listen to one another and to share in our ideas and ideals. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful community of Rowley, for its rich and deep history, and for all who serve in our community now. Guide us and bless us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Just keep in mind that we are on live television, both audio and picture-wise, so that, just be aware of what you're saying and what you're doing. That goes for everybody, because it's preserved in posterity. At this point, I'd like to just go through very quickly some of the procedures for tonight's meeting so that we can move along in an orderly and quick process. All non-voting visitors are seated along the wall over here. They all have the name tag. They're from people that are not registered voters in the town of Rowley. A lot of them are town officials, school officials, water department-related people. So they're sitting over there. Everybody else is sitting in the town meeting body, should be a registered voter and has been properly checked in, I'm assuming. Second thing is, we're going to try and expedite the process tonight of reading the warrant articles and the general budget articles. And it's imperative that everybody have a copy of the warrant for both the special and the annual town meeting. A number of the motions are going to refer strictly to as written in article such and such from the special town meeting. This is going to hopefully expedite the process, particularly the Article 5, the long budget process. We worked it out with the Finance Committee to read abbreviated versions, and I'll get into that a little bit more when we get to that point. At this point, I just want to introduce, I believe, Christopher Farmer from Triton is in the audience. He can answer questions about the Triton budget. Bill William DeRosas from Whittier had a previous commitment with the Groveland Town meeting. He's going to try and get here as soon as he can from that meeting, but at this point he's not here, but we expect him hopefully later on in the meeting if there's any questions about the Whittier budget. This Finance Committee is seated on the floor here. Obviously the Board of Selectmen, et cetera, et cetera. And as far as the procedures for the night, there are a number of votes that are going to require a 2/3 vote or a written, anything over $100,000, any appropriation over $100,000 beyond the general budget requires a count, an actual count. The moderator has the authority on a 2/3 vote or on a budget item over $100,000 to expedite the process by asking for a voice unanimous. If I get a voice unanimous, we don't need to count for those particular items. If we don't get a voice unanimous, we will count. We have counters that have been appointed, I'm sure, by the town clerk. As far as the water article in the special town meeting, which a lot of people are interested in, I've already determined that that will be a paper ballot. So that when it comes time to vote on that, it's already been determined it will be a paper ballot, so that it eliminates any potential conflicts there, I hope. I'm hoping because of what the potential length of, we got some presentations, if you're going to get up and ask a question or give a comment or make remarks on any particular warrant item, I ask that you keep it as brief as possible, hopefully under a minute or so. And we'll move the meeting along. The longer we talk and go around and around, the longer the meeting will be. If in fact, like particularly the water issue, if we get into a protracted repetition of the same questions and so on and so forth, I will cut the debate off if no new information is coming forth once we've had the discussion that we need to have. So with that, when you come up to the floor, the microphone's here. If you want to talk or ask questions, you need to come to the microphone, face the audience, give your name and address clearly so that the town clerk can keep track of, for the record of the meeting. And all motions need to be in writing and seconded, signed by the people that make the motion and the person that seconds it. If you write poorly, please print your name as well as write it so that, once again, the town clerk for the record can have an accurate record of, it's important on these legal issues that we have an accurate record of the meeting and who made motions and who did seconding. So with that, does everyone have a copy of the town warrants for both the special and the annual meetings? Is there anyone in the audience that does not have a copy? All right, can you go out would you mind going out and getting a copy? Because like I say, a number of these items we're going to refer to the warrant. Some of the long protracted items as well as the Article 5 general budget item. It's important that you have a warrant that you can follow along because we're not going to read all those items as we've done in the past. So that being said, anything else, Sue, that we need to, Bob, anything you need, you can think of?
Mr. Moderator, I move to allow the following non-resident individuals permission to speak if called upon during the April 30th, 2012 special town meeting. Judith Pickett, Town Council. Deborah Egan, Town Administrator. Conservation Agent, Brent Baislick. James Broderick, Fire Chief. Pamela Jacobson, Library Director. Coordinator of Health Services, Frank Mangiani. Principal Assessor, Sean McFadden. Acting Treasurer Collector, Jackie Vincent. Building Inspector, Ken Ward. John Rizza, Water Superintendent. Laura Hamilton, Water Department Business Manager. Timothy Southall, Parks and Recreation Committee. State Representatives Harriet Stanley, Senator Bruce Tarr, Barbara Cook, Project Manager, Weston Sampson. Mike Scipione, President, Weston Sampson. William Nunnery, Weston Sampson. Donald St. Marie, Department of Environmental Protection, State Revolving Fund. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah,
You have to.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to allow those individuals as listed to discuss topics on town meeting floor. They need your permission to do that. Does anyone have any questions? There being no questions, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous. At 7:52.
Mr. Moderator, Senator Tarr can't make the meeting tonight. He sends his apologies.
Can everyone hear him all right?
No. Oh. Can you hear me now? Senator Tarr can't be here tonight. He sends his apologies. He has another conflict, so he sends his regrets. So, again, Senator Tarr's apologies.
Okay, you prepared to go forward with the special town meeting warrant, right? Town clerk will read the warrant.
We do the special first. Special first.
Town of Rowley, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, warrant special town meeting, April 30th, 2012. Essex County, the constables in the town of Rowley and the county of Essex, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Rowley qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet in the Pine Grove School, Route 1A, on Monday, 30th day of April 2012 at 7:30 p.m. Then and there to act on the following article.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
I move to suspend further reading of the April 30th, 2012 special town meeting warrant because present town meeting members have a copy of this warrant.
Hear a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to dispense with the reading. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous. Okay, on Article 1, to hear committee reports and boards, that article, and Article 2, if the town meeting has any instructions for the town officials, those are in order at any time when we're not working on another article. So there's no need to read those, but keep it in mind that if a board wants to make a report or a committee, or if you wish to give instructions, specific instructions to a town official, that can be voted as a motion. However, keep in mind that those kinds of things are not binding as far as it's advisory only. Okay, Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to suspend in the town meeting the application of Section 19 and Section 20 of the town meeting bylaw pertaining to the reconsideration of all money articles Such suspension intended for the sole specific purpose to balance the total level of funds raised and appropriated within the limitations of Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, Proposition 2.5, so-called, and to give blanket warning hereby that any money article may, at the end of the meeting and after all articles have been acted upon, be moved for reconsideration in order to balance the total level of funds raised and appropriated within the limitations of Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Second.
This is a standard article we have to, just in case motions are made and budgets are changed, we have to come out of this meetings with a balanced budget under the Prop 2.5 state laws. So this merely allows us to do that. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $4,000 from line 31, Town Council litigation, to Article 5 of the annual town meeting of March 16, 2011, to added to line 7, Selectmen's expense, of Article 5 of the annual town meeting of May 16, 2011, to pay for expenses incurred to hold the April 30th, 2012 annual and special town meetings for a total appropriation of $17,678.
Second.
The Finance Committee recommends this article.
It's been made and seconded. The Finance Committee's made a recommendation. Any questions or concerns? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $73,180 from the stabilization fund to be used by the police chief to replace the police department radios, cruiser radios, portable radios, and installation with narrowband compliant equipment to meet federal regulations.
Second.
The Finance Committee recommends this article.
Chief, do you want to give a brief explanation, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Robert Barker,
You
Police
talk
Department.
right into it, Bob. I'm not sure. Is it on?
Anybody hear me?
Yeah, real close to it.
Okay, Chief Robert Barker, Police Department. As stated in the warrant, we have 18-year-old radios in the police cars, in the station, and the portables, and they no longer meet the federal regulations that are going to change in December of 2012. We're required to have what they call narrow banding, so we're not going to meet that requirement, and if we don't change these radios, we won't be able to operate any radios because we won't be licensed. Also, the equipment is 18 years old. It needs to be replaced. Most stuff like that doesn't last 18 years, so I think we did pretty good.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns? All right, now this is an article. This is a transfer from the stabilization fund. This requires a 2/3 vote. When I call for the vote, if I get a voice unanimous, that'll be it. If I hear any dissenting votes, then we will do a hand count because it's required under the bylaw. So with that being said, and no further questions, all those in favor of this article signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous. Thank you very much. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $10,000 from line 31, Town Council litigation of Article 5 of the annual town meeting of May 16, 2011, to be used by the Personnel Board to conduct a personal study of the town's personnel system.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
This is a request from the Personnel Board. Bob Snow is a member of the Personnel Board, as well as myself and Jack Demento. And Bob, do you want to just give a brief explanation of?
Well, Dave, we both talked together about this. We looked at the,
Talk right in a little closer, Bob.
can you hear me now? Okay. As a member of the Personnel Board, we looked over all the town positions, and we felt that looking at the positions of many heads of departments and everything else, they were not up to pay standards of other towns. So we thought that it was best that we look at all surrounding towns and have a study and take a look into our personnel, in how we pay our personnel within the town. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Come right up to the. Give your name and address, please.
Good evening, neighbors. My name is Laura Donnell. I live at 118 Hillside Street. I simply have two quick questions as it relates to this in terms of the dollar figure that's been chosen and by whom. How did you come up with $10,000, and do you already have someone that has bid on this to give you that dollar figure in terms of doing a data comparison to the towns surrounding?
Dave, could you, because we're both on the Personnel Board.
All right, but I can speak briefly on this. Sue, could you handle the moderator's chair for a second? No. I'm stepping down. I'm stepping down to talk on this article so there's no conflict of interest. Basically what this is we have a three-member Personnel Board. Bob Snow, myself, and Jack Demento from the Finance Committee. Our job is to determine the salary structure, personnel policies, all those kinds of issues involving people who work for the town, and determining what salary structures are, what policies we should have in effect. The town administrator, Deborah Egan, she's the personnel officer. We work with her. Our previous member of the board passed away, and that was the name escapes. Ron Perkins. He was on the board from the early 1990s, retired human relations person, put the original plan together. Right now, we basically have three amateur human relations non-experts dealing with personnel issues. So we just felt that in fairness to the employees, to the union employees, to the non-union employees, to the management people, it's time for us to take a look at the whole personnel system within the town. We don't have anybody in mind. We kind of picked out $10,000 out of the air we figure we'll cover that. We hope it will, and in fact, we hope we can do it for a lot less. And any money that we don't spend will go back to the town. So we're going to spend as little as we can, but we're just at a point where, in fairness to you, the taxpayers, as well as all our employees, we need to have this study done. So.
Any further discussion? Can I call for a vote? Hearing no further discussion, we'll call for a vote. So the motion, Article 6, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes at 8:05.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, to transfer and appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Community Housing Reserve Account and/or the Community Preservation Fund Unreserved Account the amount of $260,000 to be used by the Rowley Housing Authority to fund renovation of kitchens in 20 units located at the Senior Housing Complex on Plantation Drive, shown as property on map 24, lot 30.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Just from my point of view, Joan Peterson, my wife, is not here tonight. She's the director of the Rowley Housing Authority, and obviously she's not here to be able to speak on this at this point. So we have someone else that's on the CPC committee will speak on this article.
Frank Todd, 303 Main Street.
Go right close to the mic, Frank.
Okay. There are 5 members on the Housing Authority. The Rowley Plantation was built in 1971. The architect came from Hamilton. It's been there 40 years. What the purpose of this article is to rehab 20 interior units. There are 42 units total. Of the 22 beyond our end units, and the purpose of this is to go to the state for a grant for those 22. Otherwise, the town will pay for the first 20. The work will include cabinets, sinks, lighting, flooring, etc., and also the moving around of some of the closets. This is all done under prevailing wage. We have supplied the money before for the bathrooms. So it's an ongoing thing, just trying to modernize it. We'll all be there someday.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or concerns? I see none. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous. 807.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, to transfer and appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Resources and/or the Community Preservation Fund unreserved account the amount of $83,000 to be used by the Board of Selectmen for costs associated with the restoration of the tree landscape circa 1814 on the Rowley Town Common, shown as property on map 25, parcel 113.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
There'll be a presentation.
Good evening. My name is Dan Sapansky, 66 Main Street, Rowley. I'm also the chairman of the Rowley Town Common Restoration Committee. And in way of a brief history, the idea to restore the common to its historical significance originated a couple years ago with the Great Marsh Garden Club here in Rowley. The Great Marsh Garden Club, if I can put a very brief plug, is an organization that is, in addition to educational seminars and meetings, they're also responsible for the annual planting of the Veteran Star Garden, as well as the planting of the elms recently behind the town hall and other beautification projects around Rowley. The idea to restore the common back to its significance, it's an interesting story. On the 200th anniversary of the town, 100 elm trees were planted throughout the town. And if you look at the historic photos, some of which we had on the way in this evening, those 100 trees really provided a backdrop to a lot of Rowley history. Unfortunately, the Dutch elm disease took them all, with just about all of them having gone by the end of the 1960s. There are new trees out there that survive in the type of environment that we're talking about, tree plantings. There's a Morton elm, disease resistant, as well as small leaf linden and London plane trees. And the objective here is to use, rather than a monoculture, which resulted in the significant die-off of the original elms, using 3 different varieties that will stand a better chance of a long life. The objective is to have a pretty significant planting hole on each one of these trees so that we'll be able to amend the soil with a lot of organic nutrients and have a watering program. The objective here is, believe it or not, in 2014, the town will celebrate its 375th birthday. In 2014, it will also be the 100th anniversary of the dedication of the Civil War Monument. So our feeling is, what a better time to plant a tree landscape that will have significance, not in our lifetimes, but for future generations. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions, concerns? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 9.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, sorry. I move the town vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, to transfer and appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund unreserved account the amount of $225,000 for these purposes: construction of a Little League natural grass baseball field on the Brad Street property, which consists of design and contingency cost, excavating soil, and building of fields, drainage for natural grass, installing a well and irrigation system, fencing, and the construction of dugouts and bleacher seating for the creation of areas for active recreation on the Brad Street property, shown as property on map 26, lot 26-2.
Second?
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Someone from the Recreation Commission?
Good evening. My name is Glenn Fougier. I live at 155 Dodge Road in Rowley. I'm the chairman of the Rowley Recs Committee. I just have a brief presentation about this project. The Rec Committee is very excited about it. We're working on it for 2 years. We've taken several bids from area engineering firms, and we just want to show you what our plan is for the next 3 to 4 years at this Brad Street property.
Glenn, you can pull that microphone right out of there. You're on the top.
Okay.
It's easier. You're welcome. You're welcome.
There we go. Thank you.
Can we get the lights dimmed on the clock?
That's good.
We will try, Dave.
You do everything, Vice Chair. Lights.
So as I mentioned, Chairman of the Rowley Recs Committee with Kurt Annan, Mike Killian, Tim Southall, Mike Quinn, and John Tidmarsh. This proposal is a multi-phase approach. The first phase is going to construct a Little League field, as is mentioned in the article. We're looking to utilize 9 acres of land on the property. Again, this is going to be no additional cost to the town, as we're going to use existing and future CPC funds. The end of the phase, we're looking to have a baseball field, a softball field, an all-purpose turf field for soccer and lacrosse, tennis courts, a walking, jogging track, and a skateboard park. As mentioned, the Rec Committee has gone through several iterations. We had the land surveyed, and the original cost is several $100,000 below from the original proposal. For those who don't know, the town purchased in 2006 102 acres of this. We've been parsing up this land for affordable housing, and in this instance, we're going to use a portion of the property for recreational use. In the first phase is going to be a Little League field to replace Haley Field, which is currently being used in 133. And as most know, it's a dangerous area. The field is consistently underwater, and this will replace it and provide the children a safe environment to play baseball. Okay. Phase 2, we have an existing soccer field there. The thought is to replace that with turf, so the field can be used 12 months a year, and eliminate the use for fertilizer and grass cutting, which eats up a large portion of the rec budget. The third phase is going to explore the backside of the Brad Street property and could face two tennis courts, which will be able to be utilized by all residents of the town, and a skateboard park, which has been brought up in numerous past selectmen's meetings. And the fourth phase will be completed with the softball field, which will replace the current field at Pine Grove and will allow the girls to have, again, a safe place to play. This is the design phase that was done by Meridian Engineering. As you can see, it's going to be behind Pine Grove. The turf field, which is an existing soccer field, will be widened about 15 yards. The two diamond shapes, the upper part will be Little League, the lower part being softball. The skateboard park will be adjacent to the turf field, and the tennis courts will be on the backside of the property. Again, the cost, the first phase, the quotes we've received is $225,000. This is estimated to be a 3-4 year project. The funding is all going to come from the CPC, and the estimated cost we received from two different engineering companies is between $700,000 and $1.1 million to complete the entire 4-phase project. And the key benefits, it'll finally give the children a new, safe, 2012 look and feel, a big upgrade from our existing facilities, and I think it'll put Rowley in the forefront of area towns, and we will no longer need to leave Rowley to use top-shelf, brand-new facilities. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Oh, yes, come right up, sir. Go ahead and let him.
My name is George Pasanka. I live on 3 Easy Street. It's not as easy as you might think sometimes. I appreciate all this, and I actually have a 2-year-old, and I'm hopefully staying in town for a long time. So I appreciate this. The one thing that was stated was no additional cost to the town. My only confusion on that and concern with that is the driveway down to Brad Street is a fairly long driveway. I do know for a fact that the police were called down for some teenagers having a bonfire a few weeks ago down there. And you're also saying it's very safe. I also know that there were a couple instances where some individuals were taking squash and various other vegetables out of the community garden when people weren't attending there. So as safe as it may be, there may be some police presence there which theoretically could be a cost to the town. Just a concern to think about.
You want to address maybe the access? In other words, how are you going to access all these fields? Is that going to be down through the current road, or?
Access to the fields will be through Pine Grove to the existing parking lot. There's going to be a gravel road that will be adjacent to the turf field, which will allow walking and handicap cars only, but parking for this facility will be at the existing Pine Grove parking lot. And unfortunately, I can't predict future crime in Rowley, so I no comment on that. So.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Chris Gagnon, 94 Weathersfield Street. I've been a Rowley resident for about 15 years. I'm on the Pine Grove School Council, and I'm also the treasurer of Triton Youth Soccer. Field access and facilities for Triton for the youth to play soccer has been an issue, ongoing issue with additional club teams and adult teams. So I was really excited to see this plan come together because it means a lot for the youth of the town, for all of Triton to use. So I ask for your support for this. Triton Youth Soccer is definitely in favor of this development.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor of this project, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voice unanimous? Thank you, Glenn. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44B, to transfer and appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Community Historic Resource Reserve account and/or the Community Preservation Fund unreserved account the amount of $91,000 to be used for the cemetery commissioners for preservation and restoration of the 132-year-old cemetery fence in the Rowley Cemetery, shown as property on map 25, lot 84, and map 25, lot 88.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Mr. Moderator, Jack Cook, Chairman of the Rowley Cemetery Department. I'm just, sorry. We finally, 2.5 years it took us to get the accident of the present cemetery fence back into good condition, and it was 36 feet that got hit in an accident back 2.5 years ago. And this one here is really, it's deteriorated. We got a lot of cracked posts when they built it. In 1880, they used cement, and over the years, over 100 years, it's deteriorated, and every post that's sitting out in front between the town hall and Ridgedale store going north south is really cracked, and it really needs attention. And we're hoping that you people will vote this tonight. It'll look good for the bicentennial in 214. And the point that I can say that this fence should take, if we get on it, we should have all these specs and everything ready to go. We have to include prevailing wage and everything and work out the details and put it out to bid. And we're hoping once we get it out to bid, it'll be 60 to 90 days. It won't take 2.5 years to get this done.
Any questions or other comments? I hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous. Article 11.
Good evening. My name is Tim Toomey. I'm a member of the Water Commissioners, along with Scott Martin and Roy Ricker. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer from the Water Department Enterprise Fund the sum of $20,000 to be added to line 150, Water Department wages, and $15,836.59 to be added to line 51, Water Department maintenance and expenses of Article number 6 of the annual town meeting, May 16, 2011, for a total appropriation of $1,068,086.59. Do I have a second? Scott Martin.
Just one correction, it was line 151, not line 51.
The Finance Committee recommends this article.
You want to just talk on it?
It's a standard transfer of the funds. We normally do this every year, and it covers the expenses. It's normally done every year.
Do I have any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. A vote. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer from the Water Department Enterprise Fund the sum of $40,000 to be added to Article 20, Water Department Garage at 401 Central Street of May 1st, 2006, special town meeting for a total appropriation of $140,000.
Do I hear a second? Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Scott, you want
This is the $40,000.
to? Scott, talk right into the microphone.
This $40,000 will finish the garage out back, the renovation of the garage that we started 6 years ago. We asked the town for $100,000. We were looking to build the shell. We have had the school help us in this project with the mason blocks. They come in and used it as a school project. It helped keep the costs down. But to finish the inside, we've got it to the floor poured, and we're going to finish the inside, and we're asking for $40,000 to do this. Thank you.
Any questions or comments, concerns? I'll take a vote. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous? Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate $3,300,000 to pay costs of designing, planning, and constructing transmission mains, system upgrades, and a water treatment plant to treat the water from wells 3 and 5, including without limitation all costs thereof as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the General Laws, which sum shall be expended in the addition to the $9 million previously appropriated under Article 20 of the May 2010 Annual Town Meeting. That to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 8/4 and/or Chapter 29C of the General Laws as amended, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town thereof, that such bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the town, unless the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, determines that they should be issued as limited obligations and may be secured by local system revenues as defined in Section 1 of said Chapter 29C. That the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow all or portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trusts established pursuant to Chapter 29C, as amended, the trust, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement and/or security agreement with the trust, and otherwise to contract with the trust and the Department of the Environmental Protection with respect to such loan and for any federal or state aid available for the project or for the financing thereof, and that the Board of Selectmen, Board of Water Commissioners, and any other appropriate body or official of the town is authorized to enter into a project regulatory agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection to extend all funds available for the project and to take any other action necessary to carry out the project, provided, however, that the authorized amount of the borrowing in this vote shall be reduced by the amount of any state or federal grants received prior to the issuance of bonds or notes under this article.
Do I hear a second? Finance Committee recommendation?
By a vote of 5-0, the Finance Committee does not recommend this article as written. We feel this is too much money to demand without having had an open and transparent process by which this solution was determined to be the best for the town of Rowley. 2 years ago, if you were here at the town meeting, we were told construction costs would be $5.8 to $7.8 million. The $7.8 million was the worst case scenario, as we were told at the time. Now the $2 million cushion is not enough, and another $3.3 million is required. We question if we had known an accurate estimate 2 years ago, if this would have even passed and been pursued. Operating costs are going up as well in relation to this water treatment facility. If you look at Article 6 of the regular town meeting warrant, the operating costs are going up 23%, and much of that is related directly to this plant, and they will continue to go up. It is more expensive to operate. So we think it's time to take a step back and reassess if this is the right way to go for the town of Rowley. Therefore, we propose an amendment to this article as follows: to put on hold indefinitely the construction of the proposed water treatment plant, and to direct the selectmen to appoint a committee by May 30th of 2012 consisting of representatives of the Water Board, Water Department, Planning Board, Selectmen, Finance Committee, and ordinary citizens that will be tasked with exploring alternate solutions to the water contamination issues facing the town of Rowley and determining the best solution for the town from both a water safety and financial perspective.
Do I hear a second for that amendment? Okay, so the way, at this point, the way we proceed is the Finance Committee has made an amendment to, and I'll read it again, to put a hold indefinitely the construction of the proposed water treatment plant and direct the selectmen to appoint a committee by May 30th, 2012, consisting of representatives of the Water Department, the Water Board, Water Department, Planning Board, Selectmen, Finance Committee, and ordinary citizens. But will be tasked with exploring alternate solutions to the water contamination issues facing the town of Rowley, in determining the best solution for the town from both a water safety and financial perspective. That motion has been made and seconded. So at this point, we will debate the motion, pro and con. We will then vote on the motion when the debate is completed. At that time, depending if the amendment passes, that'll be it for this article. If the amendment doesn't pass, we will then move forward with the original article as presented by the Water Department. And let me just check with Town Council. That's the, Judith Pickett, our town attorney, is here. That's how she's advised me. We're going to proceed on this. So at this point, I'll let the person that made the motion or someone on the Finance Committee would like to discuss this or make a further presentation. And it's up to you. If you feel you said enough, that's fine.
I think we've stated the case, and that's where our position is.
Okay, I'll give the Water Department a chance to respond to the Finance Committee, and then I'll open it up to citizens or other government officials, whoever, that would like to speak in the article. Now, if you want to speak on it, I ask you so we can move this along. Try to keep your comments to a minute, minute and a half, or brief questions. Line up over here on my right, your left, and we'll take you one at a time, and as the questions come up, we'll allow the water commissioners to respond. But keep in mind that at this particular point, we're debating only the postponement. We're not debating the need for the water or anything else. At this point, we're only debating whether to postpone this and set up this study committee that the amendment requests. So we're not going to get into a full-blown discussion of the treatment plant at this particular point. So with that, I'll let Scott or whoever from the Water Department give a brief rebuttal, and then we'll move on.
Hi, I'm Scott Martin. I'm chairman of the Board of Water Commissioners. I've been the chairman of the Board of Water Commissioners for 11 years. I've got one more year left. So, back in May of 2010, the townspeople, the voted town meeting, appropriated and approved $9 million projected cost for this project. Okay, after two years of going through the process, in which it was actually 2 years was good, because I didn't realize at the time the extent in the bureaucracy of the whole process, starting from the pilot program through till you put it out to bid. through the whole process, 2 years, okay? So the project come in $3.3 million over what we projected 2 years ago. Okay, through this whole process, we did get the SRF funding for this, which is the funding is locked in at 2%. Okay, we've been working with DEP through this whole process with their approval and everything, and all the professionals. So at the total cost of the project as it sits right now, we put it out to bid, is $12.3 million, which the SRF funding has said, we will pick up the 3.3, we'll allow you to borrow 3.3 at 2%, because they have had other projects that have come in over the bid, okay? So in order to go forward with everything that we have done for your benefit, it's your drinking water, okay? If you have to start over from point zero, you risk losing the SRF funding for this whole project, okay? It is very important for this town, this project. The department, myself, John, the commissioners, the engineers, all other various fashions of town government, Board of Health, Concom, Treasurer, Debbie Egan, everybody has put into this through the Commonwealth Capital Program of applying through all this. And to do all this in 2 short years was a feat in itself, actually, because if you look at the whole process of pilot testing, we had come before you, asked you to do the pilot testing. We had Weston and Sampson do all the testing, okay? We got the approval from DEP. We did the testing. We set the design for the process, sent it all out to design, got it designed, sent it all out to bid. God, I was shocked when the bids come in, okay? They come in over it. So with that, I said, this project is huge, huge for this town, huge.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Moderator.
Sure.
Might I suggest moving the microphone or foot to the right in our view? As the speakers talk, they get in the way of the projection. It's distracting. Thank you.
Is that enough?
That's fine.
Okay. Go. Next speaker, Charlie Costello.
I'm Charlie Costello from
Talk right into it, Charlie.
81 Bennett Hill Road. I'm also chairman of the Board of Health. And the Board of Health, which is a board in town who is 100% working for the best health and welfare of our citizens, wholeheartedly recommends moving ahead with this project. We also take issue with the Finance Committee's amendment to this motion that doesn't even include the Board of Health in their so-called study committee. The Board of Health should be included in all deliberations of things having to do with health and public water supply. Rowley has a lovely groundwater supply. There's adequate water for everyone and into the future. The problem is the way it is in the underground landscape, natural elements such as manganese come into the raw water and create a problem. We have some of the highest levels of manganese of any community in the state.
Excuse me, Charlie. I don't really want to get into that. But
All right. Anyway, I'll be quick. We need this treatment plant. We need to move ahead, and we need to find a way so that our drinking water is drinkable and it doesn't smell coming out of the tap due to additives that have to be made. So I urge you to cut off the debate on this amendment, go to the presentation, listen to the science, listen to the work that's been done, and support the treatment plant tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Tom Moses, 47 Glen Street. I have two questions, one probably very easy and another I'm not so sure, and I think they're for the town accountant. Number one, how much has already been spent on this article that was approved 2 years ago? And number two, the tougher question is that sunk money? If we change plans now, is that money gone?
Scott, you want
To date, we spent $1.3 million in the design phase and in the upgrade to our systems to encompass this filtration plant. You not only have to build the plant, you have to upgrade your system. We have one of the better systems around us, as for one for age, and we upgrade. We upgrade the gate valves, we upgrade the mains.
Scott, just, in other words, you spent
1.3 million.
And is that money gone? What's the status?
That's gone. That's what we spent so far in design and upgrades.
So you're saying we start over from basically?
Basically, you will start over, and you'll have to do the whole process over again. Okay. And you'll be lucky to get in for you'd be lucky to get into the schedule for funding, not only to get the funding.
All right, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Next.
Hi, my name's Steve Berdino. I'm in 73 Saunders Lane in Rowley, Mass. I've been a Rowley resident for about 13 years. I do have a question, but I just want to make a quick comment. I was at the meeting on May 10th as well, and a question that kept coming up at that meeting was, what are the alternative plans, a Plan B or a Plan C? This plan was proposed to us as basically our only alternative, and it was a very good presentation. And a lot of things that came out from that presentation, however, was that we would become one of the lowest paying, or more affordable paying towns in the state of Massachusetts, one of the more expensive towns, and that was at $9 million. So one of the questions I have is, what is our Plan B and Plan C? Why was it never presented then? And have we kind of pigeonholed ourselves by putting all our eggs into this basket, not foreseeing the fact that it would go from 6, 7, 9 million, now 12 million? We still should be take a look at other alternatives. And another question I do have as well is, are we guaranteed that 12.3 is going to be the absolute highest this could possibly go, and under no circumstances we spend a dime more than 12.3? I feel the Finance Committee has proposed an excellent proposal. I don't think there's anybody in this room who doesn't understand the manganese situation and believe that we need to be able to bring clean water to Rowley and take care of this situation. But at the same time, we need to step back, take a look at it. There needs to be more transparency. That night on May 10th, I don't think a lot of people in this room realized that vote was even taking place. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. You want to? Well, I'd like to answer them as we go along, briefly answer them as we go along, otherwise we're going to completely lose track of.
The first one was Plan B or Plan C. What were those alternatives that we looked at that night? We only looked at this.
Well, the thing is when you go through the process with DEP, and you've got to get their approval for the pilot program, you can't go in there with A, B, or C. You go in there with one plan. Okay, you go in, you can only submit one plan to DEP. They're only going to approve one plan. They're not going to have a B or a C. You go in with A.
Then I understand that's what we should have done.
Right. I don't want to debate this. In other words.
So we never presented another plan? There's never been a plan, just this one?
That's what he said.
Okay. And lastly, we guarantee that 12.3 is going to be the absolute highest cost of the town of Rowley.
These are hard numbers. These are numbers that have already come in. Back in 9 million, back in 2010, okay, those were projected numbers, and we.
All right. What? I don't want to argue this out. In other words, these are hard. Right now, these are hard numbers. Okay.
John Manning, 117 Hillside Street. I've been a Rowley resident for a little over 20 years. Been through many of these kind of issues. The first question I don't think was really answered, just as a follow-up. And the question was, what's your plan B or plan C if this doesn't work tonight and the amendment passes?
Well,
Have they considered it?
John, in other words, we're limiting this to the amendment to put this to a study, so I don't want to get into
Okay.
those other Plan B and C or whatever
Okay,
is
I'll
part of
move on.
the original motion and not this one.
Okay. With respect to the funding, though, the $9 million that was allocated, 1.3, I think, was spent. That still leaves $8 million or so, plus or minus. And I know one of the things that was brought up in discussion that a new well could be $6 million, and it would take time, understandably. But again, I'd want to urge people to consider the whole suite of alternatives. And I understand there's a time constraint. However, I don't think it's worth rushing. We've waited 2 years to open the bids. I don't think it's worth rushing tonight.
Thank you. And next? You want to do a quick response, Scott? Just
Quick response is that the Russian to rush. Two quick years. We are under an ACO as to the DEP. We are under an administrative consent order.
go ahead.
Jason Massey, 10 Boxford Road. I just wanted to strongly urge that to deny this amendment because we, as a lot of people may not know, we are under an administrative consent order from the state of Massachusetts, which if we do not, it has to be complete, finished online by 2014. And if we do not start construction very soon and push it back any farther, we will not meet that deadline, which could possibly levy fines up to $25,000 a day, according to the state. I just want to make sure everybody thinks about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Tim?
My name is Tim Toomey, and I'm on the Water Commissioners. I'd like to just say a few things. We
Keep it brief,
looked at all these alternatives, and we as a board collectively selected this method of treatment based on our expert consulting firm, Weston Sampson. We felt that that was the best system for us in our future, and that's why we selected it. The other thing I'd like to point out is that last year, if we had argued that it was going to cost $12 million, we wouldn't be here tonight. We didn't know. We were completely baffled why we got bids that high. We really thought that we were going to get it in that neighborhood, which we would have been able to cover that based on our estimates last year. You know, it's a tough thing for me to swallow. I mean, I don't really like it any more than anybody in this room, but it is what it is. We have a problem. We need to address it. And, you know, we spent a lot of time going through this, and I'm not happy with the figures myself. I don't like it, but it is. It is what it is.
Thank you. All right, John, you get one last shot here, and if nobody else comes up, we'll take a vote on the amendment.
I just want to address, John Manning from Hillside Street, I just want to address the administrative consent order, and we brought this up in the April 12th meeting, and we did ask the engineering firm if they do renegotiate these type of activities with the DEP. I believe the answer was in the affirmative at that time.
I would just like to say one last thing, okay?
Well, Scott, we're going to have there's two
Okay.
more. You two gentlemen wish to speak?
Whatever, but, you know, this is
You
your
two-
water.
You two gentlemen wish to speak? Okay, those will be the last two speakers then.
This is your drinking water, okay? It's the water that goes to your homes, goes to the school, goes, okay? If you haven't noticed, it isn't good.
All right, Scott, we don't want to get into that. In other words, we're voting on the amendment at this point, so go ahead.
Rob Boulay, 52 Spencer Knowles Road. I just wanted to touch on the amendment with the Finance Committee. I strongly agree with them. I think we need to be very careful. We're going down a slippery slope here with this escalating cost. How many times do these things start at 6 or 7 million, grow to 9, grow to 12? If they're saying it's a hard number, what's going to stop to go to 15, 17 million? They're saying it's a hard number. We're not guaranteed anything. It was a hard number back when it was 7 million. So I think we need a committee to look at everything and go the other way. This could escalate up to 19, 20 million, who knows? So we need to really think about this. before we give this an open, next time we're going to be coming to another meeting, to add more money to this. So I do agree with them to take another look at this. That's why we have a finance committee in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, one last,
Scott Bridges, 700 Weathersfield Street. I just wanted to kind of follow up on John's comment. When we met with the water folks about a month ago, we were talking about whether or not that you were going to go to the state and see if there was a way that the mandate could potentially be extended if the town voted this down. And you are also going to look into whether or not the interest rate on that low-interest loan that they were going to provide could also be extended. So I'd like to just hear some comments on that.
I'd like to introduce you to Barbara Cook of Weston and Sampson. She's the Vice President of Weston and Sampson, and she can answer some questions for you. Thank you.
all right, all I'm looking for right now is the answers to the last two questions here.
We had discussions with DEP. As I mentioned in that public meeting, there's two parties of DEP that are important here. There's the technical region, which is in Wilmington, and they approved the technical design, and it's through the technical region that the town has the administrative consent order. The other arm of DEP is SRF, that's the funding arm. We had discussions with both of those arms of DEP. The funding, the 2% loan, if we do not use that by the deadline of June 21st, 2012, that money will go away and we need to get into the whole SRF process again. It's a priority process, so there's no guarantee that you will get that funding. As far as the ACO goes, it is January of 2014. When I spoke to them, they were non-committal.
Barbara, can you refresh us the ACO, what that means?
The administrative consent order, which is the town is under an administrative consent order to build a treatment plant by January 2014. That deadline, they would allow the town maybe a month or two potentially to extend that. They did say that the longer you go to ask for an extension, the more likely they would not do that. They would not commit to anything, but the longer you go, the more risk you are at.
Thank you. With those comments, what I'd like to do now is we're going to move the motion. Now, be advised that we're moving the amendment now. This is the amendment. I'll read it again in just a second so everybody understands it. The amendment is a majority vote. It's not two-thirds. The original article required a two-thirds vote. The amendment requires just a majority vote. I'm going to do a paper ballot. Can the counters come up? Or the tellers? We will do a paper ballot. And while she's getting the counters, I'm going to reread the motion so everybody understands exactly what they're voting for. The amendment is to put on hold indefinitely the construction of the proposed water treatment plant and to direct the selectmen to appoint a committee by May 30th, 2012, consisting of representatives of the Water Board, Water Department, Planning Board, Selectmen, Finance Committee, and ordinary citizens that will be tasked with exploring alternate solutions to the water contamination issues facing the town of Rowley and determining the best solution for the town from both a water safety and financial perspective. So once the counters have passed out all the ballots, you're going to come up here. Sue Hazen has a box, or will have a box. Or
Mr. Moderator, could you explain what a yes vote will mean and a no vote?
Yes, a yes vote means you're going to put on hold indefinitely the construction of the water treatment plant. A yes vote passes the amendment that was submitted by the Finance Committee. In other words, it will put on hold indefinitely for the committee to be formed. A no vote means no, you're not going to do that. A yes vote means that that's the end of the article. It's amended, and that's the final determination for tonight. A no vote means the amendment is defeated. We then move on to the original motion to raise the $3.3 million. Does everybody understand? Any questions on that, on what you're voting on? Does everyone have a ballot now? Okay, can we have the extras back up here for the counters? Yeah, you're going to tear it in half and put either a yes or a no in the box and put the other half in your pocket, or maybe if we get a trash, can we get a trash bucket over and we'll... And there's a trash bucket here that you can put, you either put the, whatever you don't submit for a vote, put it in the trash bucket or in your pocket. We'll start with my left, the right-hand side of the room, and from where you sit.
I'd like to get the rest of the ballots off the floor.
Oh, okay, hold on one second. We're all set? Okay, this side of to my left, on this side here, please come up and vote. And this is a majority vote, majority vote. Yeah, because we have this. We've got to deal with the original motion.
Yeah, just in case. But the town meeting will allow you to take it out. There's a 2/3 vote at town meeting. I could have the select number 12. So one of the selectmen could take a motion? Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you? Because
Two-thirds vote. Two-thirds vote at town meeting.
I don't know half these folks. I don't know half of these folks, you know.
Yeah, after everybody else says.
Just to speed things along, David suggested moving on to Article 14. while the counting is going on.
Okay.
You know, after they put the, while they're counting, but that takes a 2/3 vote of
This
town
takes
meeting. Because technically Article 13 is still on the table here.
Okay.
You can't really just take it out. While they're counting, then you can just,
So after they're, while they're counting.
and I'll talk to
Okay, has everybody voted that wants to vote? Will the tellers please come down to start tallying the vote?
Scott.
Okay, to help move the meeting along, the selectmen are going to make a quick motion here.
Mr. Moderator, I move to take Article 14 of the special town meeting out of order.
Here, a second.
Second.
All right, what we're doing here is, while the counting is going on, which may take 8 or 10 minutes, in order to avoid us just sitting here doing nothing, the selectmen are requesting that we take up and discuss and work on Article 14. And we need a 2/3 vote of the, or a voice unanimous of the body to do that. It's just a matter of trying to keep this thing moving so that we can get out of here at a reasonable time. So we're on Article 14. And any questions? If I get a voice unanimous, or we'll have to have a hand count, because it needs a 2/3 vote. All in favor of taking Article 14 up at this time, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous? So Article 14?
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept a permanent access and maintenance easement on property located at Haverhill Street and Pingree Farm Road, currently owned by the Pingree Farm Condominium Trust, for the purposes of widening and maintaining the access to Pingree Farm Road as shown on plan entitled Access Easement Plan of Haverhill Street Access, Pingree Farm Road, Rowley, Mass.
Do you hear a second? Want to explain this? Oh, Finance Committee recommendation is not required on this.
This is to widen the access at the Pingree Farm Road, Pingree Farm Road and 133 for the traffic and construction vehicles to use the road for construction purposes and deliveries and stuff. We've worked with the condo association and diligently in the last probably 6 months to work out an agreement to get an easement. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns? Yeah, this is John Reserwater.
I think this is a worthwhile article anyway. We have trouble with chemical deliveries to the existing station that's in there, and usually we have to have them dropped off at another location.
John, talking to the mic a little bit.
Dropped off at another location and have them shuttled into the project. So, you know, even if it's a pump station, it still needs to have deliveries.
Okay, any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous? 904. At this point, the next article is a zoning article, so I don't really want to get into that until we get this water situation squared away. So if you can just sit tight, as soon as the counters are done, we'll move forward. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. You're a lifesaver again for all these years. Just while we're waiting, I believe I saw Bill DeRoches from from Whittier, Superintendent of Whittier Schools. He's arrived, so he's in the back of the auditorium. When we get to the budget, if you have any questions on the Whittier budget, he'll be more than happy to answer them, I'm sure, as well as we have Christopher Farmer for Triton. So, thank you. Okay, the count, 148 total. Yes in support of the amendment, 58. No, 90. So the amendment does not pass. Therefore, we revert back to our discussion on the original motion, the Water Department.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you for letting us, we have a presentation to put on, for going forth with this project. We're on schedule. We do have the funding. Remember, we do have the funding for this. So, and with that, I'm going to turn this over to Barbara Cook from Weston and Sampson.
Very briefly, before Barbara starts, or while she's getting ready, like I said, I would like to move this along so that if people that want to make comments, try to be as brief as you can, germane to the issues. And I would hope that Barbara's going to make a nice presentation, but move it.
Okay, we'll go on warp speed here. A lot of this is review, so I won't go in a lot of detail. I will let people, I guess, ask questions. Hopefully you'll remember some of this. Let me get my pointer out here. Your good well in town here is well 2. And well 3 and well 5, which are close to each other, are the 2 wells that need treatment. Some background, well 3 was put online in 1981. There's been some hits of total coliform. Total coliform indicates that there may be harmful bacteria, and the next step you do is you test for fecal coliform, and fecal coliform is harmful. So just to clarify, total coliform is an indicator organism. It does not necessarily mean that you have bad bacteria in your water. Well 5 was put online in 2004. In 2006, we started to see some total coliform appear there. Manganese in both these wells has increased over time. The chlorine that we use to disinfect the wells that helps to kill the bacteria is also consumed by the manganese. So as the manganese increases, you need to increase the chlorine that you add, because the key part here is the manganese uses it up, and you want to make sure that there's enough chlorine to kill any bacteria. In May 2010, you're well aware, you approved the $9 million. I do want to tell you that your water is still safe to drink right now. Just to go over some of the rules that are pertinent that DEP has, I mentioned total coliform. There's an actual rule where you do samples throughout your system to make sure that your water is safe. Total coliform was detected in your water distribution system in 06, 09, and 10. The groundwater rule looks at chlorination of a source if there is fecal coliform present. So what the water department does is it samples for total coliform in the distribution system and also in the wells. If there is a total coliform present in the wells, the next round of samples you do is for fecal coliform. You can see in this table here, well 3 is here. You have the years. Well 5 is here, and your total detects are here. These are fecal coliform detects, and you can see that over time, those have generally increased. There are also some regulations that pertain to manganese. Right now, there is just a secondary regulation, and that is because right now manganese is considered to be an aesthetic type of regulation. There is language that the DEP has required to appear in your consumer confidence report, which you will be receiving by June of this year. And this language we have included here. The gist of it is that there may in the future be a primary standard for manganese, because it has been shown that if you have a lifetime exposure to manganese at 0.3 milligrams per liter, that there may be some neurological effects. So you want to make sure that whatever process you put in line is going to treat the manganese. This is just some data from the two wells, well 3 and well 5. You can see that the manganese levels over these years has increased in well 3. In well 5, it's increased somewhat and kind of bounced around a little too. Some more manganese data. We've shown this before. This is for 2008 and 2009. The Water Department did an in-depth study of manganese at well 5 and well 3. Well 3 is shown in the blue bars and well 5 in the red bars. You have the level of manganese here. This level on this line is 0.6. The standard, the secondary standard is 0.05, so you can see that you're well above it. These little diamonds indicate when there was total coliform present in the water. The next 3 slides show what happens to the chlorine. The red bars are the chlorine residual, and the blue bars are the chlorine dosage. So right in 2007, they were adding about 2 milligrams per liter of chlorine. And what was left as it got into the distribution system was a little under 1. And you can see that change throughout the next couple of years. In 2009, we're adding more chlorine, and 2011, we're adding even more chlorine. There had been some questions about looking for new water sources. So Rowley did at one point has put a lot of test holes throughout the entire town of Rowley. John actually has a map if anybody wants to see it, but the town of Rowley has pretty much been punctured with test wells. And the best supplies that we have really are your well 3, your well 5, and well 2. There was talk about a well 4, however, this well 4 is in the same aquifer as well 2, and if you were to put that well 4 in, it's likely that you may not be able to pump as much from well 2. Some other considerations is that the DEP new source approval takes from 3 to 5 years. There are difficult permitting requirements because there are a lot of ecological issues with drawing water out of the wells. There are certain wetland impacts that DEP wants to make sure are not happening. There's also a big land ownership issue. You need to either own or control, and that's serious control, pretty much no use whatsoever of that land of about 12 acres. That may mean that eminent domain takings are necessary, and as we mentioned in the public meeting, there is no guarantee that when you put this well in, you'll have good water quality and you won't need to treat it. Membrane filtration is the type of treatment that is going into this plant that we bid. It's a state-of-the-art treatment plant. It is capable of treating many of the stringent requirements that the town might face in the future. There is a lot of uncertainty in the future as to what DEP and EPA may regulate, but membranes is the most robust treatment right now that Rowley can use to treat these wells. Can you jump back? One thing that's important to know that membrane treatment in combination with chlorination will help deliver the best water quality and the safest water quality. And because membranes take so much of the bad parameters, the parasites and the pathogens out of the water, you will have to add less chlorine. There's a lot of project history here. I'm not going to go through everything, but we wanted to show you this because there's been concern about how long this project has taken. Back in 2007, there were a couple studies done to look at the water quality in both well 3 and well 5. Then throughout 2008 and 2009, the town did some in-depth water quality studies so that enough information could be gathered to look at the best treatment processes to use. In October 2009, prior to the January special town meeting for pilot testing, we made a presentation to the Board of Selectmen on the pilot testing. As I mentioned, we had a special town meeting for the pilot testing in January 2010. There's a whole series of submittals that need to go to the technical region of the DEP. The first step is to give them a plan of what you plan to do for your pilot testing, and that was submitted in January 2010. In May 2009, the town meeting appropriated $9 million, and it's important to note here that we were in the very early stages of the project, and that the Water Commission decided to go forward with a complete project estimate instead of other towns will look at it another way and will go forward with just design monies and come back later for the construction money. So they were being proactive in putting forth the $9 million because of this kind of strict timeline that they had to go through. In May and June of 2010, the pilot testing was conducted, and I do just want to say it took DEP, between January 2010 and May 2010 to approve that protocol. The next months, we looked at the pilot data, we analyzed it, and that was the first level of cost estimating that we did beyond what we developed in 2010. Now, some of these items are shown in red. Those are particular to what DEP SRF, those are SRF deadlines. And the items that are shown in yellow are particular to the technical region of DEP. The first stage in the SRF process is to put forward basically an interest in funding, and in that submittal, you also have to submit your project costs. So that was put in August 2010. In October of 2010, the town signed the administrative consent order that we referred to. In December of 2010, the pilot report was submitted to DEP. In January of 2011, the state informed us that we had made the funding list. Then the next parts of the projects are a lot of submittals we made to town boards. In March 2011, we got approval of the pilot testing. We did, however, begin the design before that, assuming we would receive approval. Through April, we did a basis of design report. We went through the state environmental process to bring in all the entire environmental community and look at the process that we went through. We completed perk testing, we completed a Massachusetts Historical Commission permit, Board of Health septic. In September, we met with the building inspector and the fire chief. We put in our ZBA special permit in September, and in October, we submitted our design and final SRF application process or package. Still more permitting requirements you see from October to December. In December, DEP approved our design, and in February, we bid the project out, and today we are before you. Some dates to think about in the future. The plan is, if this article passes, that construction will begin in June of 2012. Construction will be complete in February 2014. And our administrative consent order deadline is January 15th, 2014. And I was told by the technical folks at DEP that it would be very likely we could get that short extension. To go through some of the project costs, where we were in May of 2010 and where we are today, I've divided it into engineering, the part that the water department, are we out of battery? Oh. The part that the water department used for their upgrades, the plant construction itself, and a 5% contingency, which you typically do when a project gets to the bidding phase. That allows for any change orders that you might have during the project. So you can see that in May 2010, the total project was $9 million, and now we're at $12.3 million. It's been said before, but I want to reiterate that the state has agreed that they will give us the 2% interest loan on the additional $3.3 million. So John had put together some cost increases over the last 2 years. Fuel cost has increased by 46%, copper by 76%, and steel rebar cost has increased by 33%. I'm now going to go through briefly some more detail on the different sections of the costs. The engineering and permitting cost increases. We decided to do some additional work at Well 2. There were a couple of additional Conservation Commission submittals. We had an earth removal permit that we needed to do. We decided we needed to improve the access to Pingree Farm Road. There were some changes by the membrane manufacturer, and that Mass Historical permit was required because of the fact that we had SRF funding. Some of the increases that were associated with the meter program, that 1,700 meters is really not a cost increase, it's just a statement of what was included in that program. There were upgrades to the computer in the water office to handle that software for the meters. There were also improvements required at Well 3 and Well 5 on a temporary basis to get us through to when we constructed the treatment plant. And there was some improvements also that were required to chemical feed systems. The cost increases at the plant included a very difficult site development that we did not know we were getting into at the beginning of the project. The membrane price increased over the time. Membrane prices are typically very fuel related. There were many security improvements that we incorporated. We decided to fence the entire site to make sure that the wells and the treatment plant were very secure. We were somewhat forced into building under the building concrete tankage rather than having it put at grade because of the fact that it was a difficult site and there was very little land where we could put our tankage. We decided to go with a natural gas generator, which is much more expensive than a diesel generator because it's much more safe and reliable. There were other plant efficiencies we looked at. There is an aeration system that allows you to not add as much chemical to the water. So even though that increases your capital costs, it decreases your operational costs. There were other plant efficiencies like that. And there was also, we incorporated a complete water system, SCADA, which is the computer system that will run the entire system, including SCADA facilities at the tanks and all of the wells and the water department office. This is a summary of the water treatment plant bids. The first bid by Winston Builders was the low bid. Unfortunately, that had to be thrown out. The state sets a limit that contractors can bid at, and they were over that limit. So we had to throw them out. But you can see by looking at these bids that they are very competitive. The next three lowest bids are very close to each other, and having 8 bids on a project like this shows that these prices are what the plant will cost. I just wanted to kind of go through the SRF requirements so you're familiar with what it takes to get the SRF low interest loan. And this, if you wanted to think about this, this would hold true from this year. So for example, if you decided to not vote this article through and go for funding again, you would just add 2 years to all these dates. So in August of 2010, we made our first submittal. The state reviews that. There was also a Commonwealth capital application that a lot of the town departments helped put that together. The higher score you get on that capital application, the better funding opportunity you have. Funds are given on a point system, so to speak, the worse your system is, the more likely you will get funding. In January of 2011 is when the state decides who gets this funding. In this program, 16 of the 65 applicants were given funding, so that's about 25%. At that point, June of 2011 would be the funding appropriation deadline. Well, you had met that because you appropriated money in May of 2010. October 2011 is when you have to submit the final design and all your SRF application. And then for this project specific, because we were issued what the state calls a PAC, legislatively, we have 6 months from the issuance of that PAC, which was December 21st of last year. So construction must begin June 21st of this year to get funding. As I said, I spoke to the folks at SRF, and they're willing to give us maybe a month or so leeway on that, but nothing beyond that. So with this, I'll turn it over to John.
John, if you're going to repeat, what might be worthwhile doing is trying to take a few questions. I mean, I don't want to short stop your presentation, but
there's like 5 slides left.
Okay, just if you can make it quickly so we can get into the resident questions and move this along. Thank you.
Okay, I got the good job to tell you what the rates are going to be. Prior to 7/1/2010, we had biannual billing twice a year. After 7/1/2010, it was quarterly billing. Average Rowley water bill prior to July of 2010 was $51. Currently, the average cost is $57 a month. For 2013, the average cost would be $89 a month. And for 2014, fully operational, you're looking at probably $107 a month. Those are an average cost based on the fact that every single user in the town of Rowley was a family of 4, which is really not the case. You have big users, you have small users. We just conducted a trial monthly billing and pulled out a couple of sample family of 4 bills, and we were somewhere in the $30 to $40 range. So it's going to vary because some of the larger users take off part of the cost. So, but you still have to strike an average just for discussion purposes. So that's what we've shown here. The next couple of slides, just showing the tables that go along with that explanation. If you want to look at this, depends on how you want to look at it. You want to look at it in 1,000-gallon blocks? Do you want to look at it as a price per gallon? Do you want to look at it how much it costs you a month? So we already looked at the monthly cost. These are costs per 1,000 gallons. If you actually broke it down for $107 a month, if you have a family of 4, each person's using $26 worth of water a month. You want to break that down further into 30 days in a month, they're using 80 cents a day per person. And that's for what you could call bottled water, quality water. So, in the last slide, we're recommending filtrations of well 3 and 5. Number 1, because of the manganese, and number 2, because of the fecal coliform bacteria. The construction of this project must start in June 2012 to maintain your funding. State funding will save Rowley probably $1.7 million in interest on payback, depending on what the private bond market would be. As you know, we are under an administrative consent order, and I'm sure there's very little leeway in that. And I believe, and as it's shown there, that further delays are only going to increase costs. Nothing's really going to get any cheaper. It's just a question of time. So with that, I guess we'll go to some questions.
Thank you, John. I would like, if people have questions or comments at this point, I would request that you line up over here to my right, to your left. It's a very well put together, I think, a comprehensive presentation. So does anybody have any questions or concerns? Seeing that we have none.
I do have.
I'm sorry, Tim, go ahead. I was looking for anybody for an adversarial view.
Yes, I'd like to just say that none of the technologies out there are cost-effective. They're all expensive, very expensive. We are faced with having to do this, and we need, I think it's 2/3 vote. We need 2/3 vote on this. We want this to pass tonight, and we'd appreciate it very much for everybody's benefit. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, with no further comments or questions, I'm going to call for a vote. It is a 2/3 vote. We are going to do it by paper ballot. If the counters could come forward to distribute the ballots.
I guess so. Mr. Moderator, could you explain a yes vote and no vote on this vote, please?
Yes, I've been asked to explain the vote. A yes vote means the water department will be authorized to borrow an additional $3.3 million to construct the plant. A no vote means they won't be allowed to vote, to borrow that money, and the project kind of goes back to be rewritten, I guess, but it's dead at this, it's more or less dead at this point. So a yes vote authorizes them to borrow $3.3 million. Does everybody have a ballot? They all been distributed? Okay.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Could you explain the two-thirds vote
The what?
on this amendment?
Yes, this requires a two-thirds vote, because it's a bond issue. State law requires a two-thirds majority to pass this. So if a majority passes and it's not two-thirds, it goes down. It needs a two-thirds vote in the affirmative in order to move ahead with the borrowing of $3.3 million. Does everybody understand that? Okay, if we get all the extra ballots up front here.
Okay, everyone has a ballot,
Everyone has a ballot?
and all the ballots are off the floor.
All the ballots are off the floor. We'll start with this side of the room at this point. Where's the box? Do we have the box? Somebody stole the box, we can't vote.
Thank you.
Okay, so tear your vote in half and put your vote in the white box and put what you don't want to vote in the trash can or put it in your pocket. And at this point, everybody on my right, your left, will please come up and start voting. Stage can vote anytime they want.
Joe, to cut the speaker off, just push the button. Just hold it down. Good. I know, that's why I knew it. I knew it. I knew, you know what? There's a reason for everything. Hey, Cliff. I thought there'd be a lot more people here tonight. I thought there'd be a lot more else. Do you know why? I saw the baseball games tonight. My son, a lot of Little League baseball tonight. How's it going?
Oh, good, good. I went by there, what, Peter and I did about a month ago. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, let's do that while we're here. Great, thank you.
This was it's a decade. Easy.
When you're finished voting, if you could sit down, we have the planning board wants to make a report, which I'll allow at this time. That way, while they're counting, we can go ahead and move ahead with business of the meeting. Has everyone that wants to vote voted? Okay, well, the counters come forward to count the votes. And like I say, if everyone could sit down and stop talking, Cliff Pierce from the planning board would like to report.
Good evening. My name is Cliff Pierce, and I'm a member of the Planning Board and the Zoning Review Committee. And I'm going to read the Planning Board report on Articles 15, 16, 17, and 18 of the warrant for the special town meeting of April 30th, 2012. On February 8th and February 15, 2012, the Planning Board published notices in the Newburyport Daily News of a proposal to amend the zoning district map of the town of Rowley by transferring a portion of Lot 34 on Rowley Assessor's Map 14 to the Retail District, and of proposals to amend the Rowley Protective Zoning Bylaw by revising Sections 4.2.3A and 4.6.2A of the bylaw to allow small and medium retail sales establishments to include areas for outdoor retail display, revising the criteria under Section 6.6 for the approval of accessory apartments, and repealing Section 8.5, new single-family dwelling limitation. The board opened the public hearing on these proposals on February 29th, 2012. On that date, the board voted unanimously to recommend the adoption of Articles 15, 16, and 17 of the warrant for the special town meeting. On February 21 and February 28, 2012, the board published notices in the Daily News of a proposal to amend the zoning map by including the following areas in the floodplain district: the special flood hazard areas within the town designated as Zone A, AE, and VE on the Essex County Flood Insurance Rate Map dated July 3rd, 2012, issued by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and proposals to amend the floodplain district bylaw by revising the definition of special flood hazard area, Section 4.10.1, and by making other conforming changes to Section 4.10. On March 7, 2012, the board opened the public hearing on these proposals. At that time, the board continued the hearing to March 28, 2012. At the continued public hearing, the board unanimously voted to recommend the adoption of Article 18 of the warrant for the special town meeting, dated April 30th, 2012, and signed by Kurt Bryant, Chairman of the Rowley Planning Board.
Thank you, Cliff. We should have a vote total in just a minute, I believe. Just as a general announcement, I'm hopeful that at the conclusion of the water vote that we don't lose our quorum, because I'm hopeful that we can fairly rapidly finish up these zoning articles, and we still need to get to the annual town meeting. But I think most of that is pretty routine stuff, and we could probably go through that fairly quickly, because we'd like to get it done by 11 o'clock tonight, because if we have to postpone or continue the meeting to another night, it's extremely difficult to get a quorum. So we'd like to, hopefully, you people, I know you put up with a lot of information. You've been excellent, and we've had a good meeting so far. And I hope that you can stick around and we can get this whole thing completed in the next hour and 15 minutes. And we'll be happy and proud of ourselves. Thank you. Oh, I have been asked to announce also that for you people that are interested, tomorrow night at the Rowley Public Library is a candidates night with presentations by the various candidates for the election. That's next Tuesday, and the polls are open, I believe, how much? Noontime to 8 p.m. at the Pine Grove School. I'm sorry. I'm thinking back at the old days. No, St. Mary's Hall, which is across the street from the Pine Grove School, noon to 8 on next Tuesday. It's important that everybody vote. And but the candidates' night is tomorrow night. And what time is that meeting?
7:30.
7:30 tomorrow night.
7 to 9.
7 to 9 tomorrow night at the public library. So hopefully a lot of people can go there and listen to those presentations. We need a 6th grader or a 5th grader. Figure this out.
Yeah, if it's that close, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay, we have the official vote total, and if there's a problem, it's Sue Hazen and Sue Bailey that did the figuring, not me. A total of 146 votes were cast, yes 117, no 29. The motion passes.
I want to thank everybody for your vote tonight. Thank you very much.
Like I say, thank you very much for your attention and putting up with a lot of words and a lot of talk on this. And with that, we'll move to Article 15.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to amend the Rowley Protective Zoning Bylaw by deleting existing section 6.6, which is printed on pages 4, 5, and the top of page 6 of the April 30th, 2012 special town meeting warrant, and replacing it with a new section 6.6 to read as printed on pages 6 and the top part of page 7 of the April 30th, 2012 special town meeting warrant.
We hear a second?
Article 15 would amend our accessory apartment bylaw. Accessory apartments are commonly referred to as in-law apartments. That is, it's typically a small apartment within a single-family home or as an attached addition to a single-family home that's used to provide housing for a parent or other relative of an owner-occupant of the single-family home. Accessory apartments are currently allowed under our bylaw. However, there are a number of problems in the existing bylaw that we feel need to be corrected, and that's the reason why we're proposing this article. Probably the biggest problem in the bylaw has to do with the types of homes that can qualify for accessory apartments. Under the existing bylaw, an accessory apartment can only be located in a home that was in existence on January 1st, 1990. So if you live in a single-family home that was constructed after that date, you would not be eligible to have an accessory apartment. And over the years, people have been denied the ability to build accessory apartments because they live in newer homes. We feel that restriction is pretty unfair, and so this article would delete that restriction, and it would mean that eligibility for an accessory apartment would be determined without regard to the age of the home. This article makes a number of other changes to the accessory apartment bylaw, and these other changes are really designed to ensure that the bylaw is more enforceable. And by that, I mean that the purpose of the accessory apartment provision is really not to create two-family housing in Rowley or to create sources of rental income for homeowners. Rather, it's to allow people who own and occupy a single-family home to provide a modest apartment for a parent or a relative who is in need of housing. So we are proposing a number of changes that are really designed to ensure that the provision is not misused and that it is used for its intended purpose. The article would make the bylaw more enforceable in a number of ways. One of these changes has to do with the size of the accessory apartment. Under the existing bylaw, the apartment can equal up to 25% of the living area of the single-family home. So if you have a large single-family home, you can potentially have a fairly large accessory apartment. And under the existing bylaw, the Board of Appeals has the authority to even increase the size of the home above that limit. Under this article, an accessory apartment could not be more than 700 square feet. And in our judgment, an apartment of 700 square feet is really sufficient for the intended purpose of the bylaw, which again is to provide housing within your home of a parent or other family member. I don't think I really have the time to go through all the changes that this article would make, but if anyone has questions about the other changes, I'd be happy to address them. Thanks.
All right, there's no Finance Committee recommendation required. Does anyone have any questions on this bylaw change? I see none. I'll move to a vote. Be advised it's a 2/3 or voice unanimous. If I don't get a voice unanimous, then we will count. So at this time, all those in favor of this bylaw? Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous? That puts us to Article 16.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to amend the Rowley Protective Zoning Bylaw by 1, revising sections 4.2.3A and 4.6.2A of the bylaw by deleting from such sections the words and punctuation marks that appear in italics within parentheses, and by adding to such sections the words and punctuation marks that appear in bold within brackets to read as follows. 4.2.3A, small retail sales establishments, but excluding sale of motor vehicles, and provided further that the square footage of all outdoor retail display areas utilized by such an establishment shall not exceed the lesser of 10% of the square footage of the indoor retail space utilized by the establishment, or 5,000 square feet. 4.6.2A, small and medium retail sales establishments, but excluding sales of motor vehicles, and provided further that the square footage of all outdoor retail display areas utilized by such an establishment shall not exceed the lesser of 10% of the square footage of the indoor retail space utilized by the establishment, or 5,000 square feet. And 2, by deleting section 8.5 of the bylaw, new single-family dwelling limitation.
Do we hear a second? Finance Committee recommendation not required. Cliff, you want to give us a brief as brief as you can
Yes,
be.
I will be brief. And this article is less complicated than the prior one. Essentially, it would allow retail stores in the town to have outdoor display areas for the merchandise. Currently, these outdoor display areas are prohibited under our bylaw, although you can, if you look around town, you'll see quite a few of them. This article would also delete our single-family dwelling limitation bylaw, which has also been referred to as our rate of development or rate of growth bylaw. This was enacted, I don't know, 15 years or so ago to slow down the rate of development in Rowley. The provision in 2009 sunsetted on its own, and so basically we're just taking it off the books at this point because it has no force and effect.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, this also requires a 2/3 vote, voice unanimous, or we will count. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous?
Mr. Moderator, I would actually like to move to withdraw Article 17 from the warrant of the special town meeting of April 30th, 2012.
Hear a second? Okay, the motions, I move to withdraw Article 17 from the warrant of the special town meeting. Want to give just a quick explanation?
Yes, this article would have transferred a fairly small parcel of land from our business light industry zoning district to our retail district. The parcel in question is behind the Agawam Diner near the intersection of Route 1 and 133. Basically, I've been advised by the building inspector that he is still in the process of negotiations and discussions with the owner of the property about the property, and it was his request that we withdraw it at this time and consider whether to proceed with the rezoning at a later town meeting.
Any further questions, comments? This is just a majority vote or voice unanimous. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? What? Article
18?
18.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to amend Section 4.10 of the Rowley Protective Zoning Bylaw as set out in Article 18 on page 10 of the April 30th, 2012 special town meeting warrant.
So, do I hear a second? Just a
This-
brief explanation.
Yes, this article would update our floodplain bylaw. It would define the floodplain district to include all of the flood hazard areas, also known as 100-year flood zones, that are shown on the new floodplain maps that were issued recently by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. These new maps are effective July of this year. Currently, our floodplain district is defined in reference to maps that were issued by FEMA in 1986. I should also add that the town is required by FEMA to take this action in order to continue to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program.
Any questions or concerns? This also requires a 2/3 vote or voice unanimous. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? With that, it appears we've concluded the special town meeting. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to adjourn the April 30th, 2012 special town meeting.
Second.
Made and seconded to adjourn the special town meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, we will go, unless someone has an issue, we will go directly into the annual town meeting. And I assume, once again, everybody has a copy of the warrant, because when we do Article 5, which is the general budget for the town, it's important that we're not gonna read every line this year like we've done in the past. We're gonna do it by category, so that it'll speed up the process. And but meanwhile, let's go ahead and
Mr. Moderator,
hold up.
I move to the town to vote Dave Peterson's acting moderator of April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody else wants to get up here? Okay, Article,
Town of Rowley, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, warrant for annual town meeting, April 30th, 2012. Essex County, constables of the town of Rowley and the county of Essex, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth.
Mr. Moderator, I move to suspend further reading of the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting warrant because the present town meeting members have a copy of this warrant.
do I hear a second?
Second. Thank you.
All in favor? Signify by
Aye.
saying Any opposed? 10:01.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move to allow the following non-resident individuals permission to speak if called upon during the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting. Judith Pickett, Town Council; Deborah Egan, Town Administrator; Conservation Agent Brent Baselak; James Broderick, Fire Chief; Pamela Jacobson, Library Director; Coordinator of Health Services, Frank Mangiani; Principal Assessor, Sean McFadden; Acting Treasurer Collector, Jackie Vincent; Building Inspector Ken Ward; John Rizzo, Water Superintendent; Laura Hamilton, Water Department Business Manager; Acting Light Plant Manager, Jacqueline Vincent; William DeRosa, Whittier Vocational Technical School Superintendent; Christopher Farmer, Triton Regional School District Superintendent; Brian Forget, Triton Regional School District Assistant Superintendent; State Representative Harriet Stanley; and Senator Bruce Tarr.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voice unanimous? With that, Article 1 is in the special town meeting. Article 1 and Article 2 are in order at any time for reports and/or directions to town boards. I'll take Article 3.
Article 3. I move the town to vote and suspend in town meeting application of Section 19 and Section 20 of town meeting bylaw pertaining to the reconsideration of all money articles. Such suspension intended for the specific purpose to balance the total level funds raised and appropriated within the limitations of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21C, Proposition 2.5, so-called, and to give blanket warning hereby that any money article may, at the end of the meeting and after all articles have been acted upon, be moved for reconsideration in order to balance the total level of funds raised and appropriated within the limitations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Here a second?
Second.
This is a standard article. I'll take a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 4.
I move the town to vote to fix the annual compensation of elected officers of the town as required by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108, as printed on page 1 of the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends.
Okay, this is one of those we've normally read through it. At this time, it's printed in your warrant. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voice unanimous. Okay, Article 5, this is the general town budget. This is where most of your tax money is going, if not all of it. Normally, we would read all 160 lines or whatever. This year, we're shortening it down. The Finance Committee is going to basically read the highlighted, when you look at your warrant, the highlighted section, so that they're going to start with general government, town moderator, board of selectmen. They're not going to read the money amounts. When they get to the end of the general government, they'll read what the subtotal is, and they'll go on to public safety and so on and so forth. So if, in fact, you have a question or you want to put a hold on something, For instance, Board of Assessors, and you want to put a hold or you have a question, you yell out so I can hear it, hold on line number 20, or whatever the line number is. When we'll go through the whole Article 5. When we get to the end, we'll go back and discuss any lines that had a hold put on them. So does everybody understand that? So once we go down through, you can't come back 10 minutes from now and say, oh, wait a minute, I wanted to put a hold on such and such a budget. As the Finance Committee reads through, and they're going to go steady but slow. If you have a hold, let us know, and we'll put it down. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Finance Committee, and they can start reading it.
General Government, Town Moderator, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, Town Accountant, Board of Assessors, Treasurer, Tax Collector. Town Council, Personnel Board, Information Service Department, Town Clerk, Elections, Registrar of Voters, Conservation Commission, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Agricultural Commission, Town Hall Annex. Subtotal, $994,538.
Public Safety, Police Department, Constables, Fire Department, Ambulance Service, Inspection Department, Emergency Management Services, Animal Inspector, Animal Control Officer, Tree Warden, Moth Control, Harbor Master, Shellfish Commission, Shellfish Constable, Schools. Subtotal $8,112,200.
Oh, wait a minute. The subtotal should be $1,919,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did schools, I'm sorry. Total is $1,919,197.
So schools, subtotal for that section, $8,112,245. Public Works, Highway Department, snow and ice removal, recycling, fire hydrants, street lighting, town land maintenance, cemetery commission, subtotal $508,318. Health and Human Services, Board of Health, Council on Aging, Veterans Affairs, Handicapped Commission, subtotal $252,197. Recreation Historic, guess that's all one, subtotal $246,524. Then.
No, and the
Oh,
Recreation,
sorry.
you got the Public
Okay,
Library,
sorry.
Recreation Committee.
Recreation Historic, Rowley Public Library, Recreation Committee, Historical, and Other, for a subtotal of $246,524. Then debt. Subtotal $439,153. Insurance, subtotal $1,202,833. And the
Okay,
grand.
thank you. So there's been no holds placed, so the Finance Committee needs to come up with a motion of how the money is divvied up. This also gives you a good idea of what it takes to run a small town like Rowley. An awful lot of departments and an awful lot of work done by a lot of people to keep things going. And they do an excellent job. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Lane Bourne, 349 Central Street. This should be easy to answer. Line 66 is blank in the printed warrant. It should probably be a 0, but I just wanted to confirm that. Thanks.
66. Yeah, if that's the ambulance one, we used to, a few years back, we were paying $30,000 a year as a subsidy to the ambulance service. And a couple of years back, we entered into a new contract, so the cost currently is zero. And we keep that line item open because it's possible in the future that new contracts will cost us some money. Thanks, Lane. Yep, Finance Committee, go ahead.
For Article 5, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate $13,282,727 and transfer the appropriate the sum of $382,278 from free cash and transfer and appropriate the sum of $10,000 from overlay reserve for a total of $13,675,005 to defray the expense of the town for the forthcoming fiscal year, including bonds, notes, and interest.
Okay, did everybody understand that? We hear a second? So that's the total town budget, how it's divided up between your taxes, transferring of money within, and so on and so forth. So there's no questions? I'll take a vote. All those in favor of the budget signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 6, Water Department budget. We're going to do the same thing with the Water Department. We're going to just read the highlighted, the bold lettering, and the subtotals, and move it along quickly. Thank you.
Operating service, subtotal, $957,738. Let's see here. Debt service for a subtotal of $442,726 for a grand total of $1,400,464.
Do we hear a second? Yeah, that's right.
Second?
That's the operating budget for the Water Department, and it says here, plus Article 7 of indirect costs. We do that in Article 7. That's why it's not included. That $192,000 will be in the next article. So, any questions on the Water Department budget as it's presented? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voice unanimous? 1013. Okay, Scott, Article 7.
Article 7, I move the town vote to transfer from the Water Department Enterprise Fund to the General Fund the sum of $195,512 for the budget lines printed in Article 7 on page 8 of the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting warrant, in that any other money spent by the general government on behalf of the Water Department be reimbursed to the General Fund from the Water Department Enterprise Fund in fiscal year 2013.
I got a question here because there's a discrepancy in the figures. Is that so you said 195? Okay, there's a discrepancy. It should be 195,512. I know the table says 192,512. That's a typo. So it's 100 and we're voting on 195,000.
195,512.
It should be 192? Oh, I'm sorry. Forget what I just said. Change the motion, Scott. So the 195 is a misprint. It should be 192,512. It's a discrepancy of $3,000, so.
You want me to redo it?
Does everybody understand what we did there? The Water Department, that Article 7 should be $192,512. Any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Article 8. That's a group item. That goes Article 8 through 11. Go ahead, Board of Selectmen.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to authorize the following accounts and their uses as printed in Articles 8 through 11 on pages 15 and 16 in the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting warrant. Article 8, Municipal Light Board, Municipal Lighting Plan Annual Appropriation. Article 9, Harbor Master Municipal Waters Maintenance and Improvement Fund. Article 10, Cemetery Commissioners Perpetual Care Trust Interest Account. And Article 11, Board of Assessors Recertification Fund.
Here, a second?
Second.
This is a standard article. We've been voting this way for a number of years. Once again, they're standard appropriations every year. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 11.
12.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12, yep, you're right. All right, this is the same thing. If you look in your warrant, there's a number of categories. These are all revolving accounts that every year we renew. Go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E 1-2, to authorize the following 10 revolving funds and their uses for fiscal year 2013. Council on Aging, $5,000. Board of Health, $20,000. Parks and Recreation Committee and Board of Selectmen, $30,000. Parks and Recreation Committee and Board of Selectmen, $5,000. Board of Selectmen, $2,000. Highway Department, $12,000. Shellfish Department, $6,000. Zoning Board of Appeals and Board of Appeals, $4,000. Board of Cemetery Commissioners, $10,000. Library, $2,500.
Second.
Right, these are basically user fees that are paid into these various departments for services rendered, and this authorizes the departments to use those user fees to defray the costs of the programs that they are running. Any questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, we're moving right along here. Let's see. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53-E/12, to authorize the use of a revolving fund by the Agricultural Commission for the fiscal year 2013, into which donations and fees charged for the Agricultural Commission programs and events shall be deposited and which may be used by said Agricultural Commission to pay for the expenses incurred to operate such programs and hold such events, such expenditures not to exceed $1,000.
Second.
Okay, this is another one of these revolving funds, a new one that's being created. Any questions? Once again, it's paid for by people using the service. It's not costing the taxpayers any money. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, to authorize the use of a revolving fund by the Harbor Master for fiscal year 2013, into which donations and proceeds from the sales of Harbor Master Department boat and equipment shall be deposited, and which may be used by the Harbor Master for the purchase, repair, and maintenance of department equipment, such expenditures not to exceed $30,000.
Second.
This is another one of the revolving funds being set up, and it's people who use the harbor or the river and the waterfront facilities. Fees that they pay allows the harbor master to spend the money. I'll take any questions? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Voice unanimous? Article 15. Okay. Yes, go ahead, John. You gotta read it? It would help.
Article 15, I move the town vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $24,605 from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust Septic Betterment Loan Program to pay the debt service on the town's loan from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust. This is an annual request that we have to pay the loan back to the state for the $500,000 that we get to give out low-interest loans to homeowners to repair and upgrade their failing septic systems.
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Article 16.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to A, appropriate $135,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the purpose of purchasing the following capital equipment: $39,000 for Highway Department pickup truck and plow, $58,000 for Highway Department dump truck with plow and sander, $13,000 for Highway Department mower, $10,000 for ramp replacement at the Fire Department, $1,500 for a server for the Fire Department computer system, $8,000 for self-check workstation for the library, $5,500 for computers and software for the Accounting and Treasurer's Department, and B, authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $135,000 under Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority to meet such appropriations, and C, authorize the Board of Selectmen.
Second. You want to talk?
Mr. Moderator, this capital equipment bond serves as the Board of Selectmen's third step in scheduling capital equipment replacement, which is part of the Board of Selectmen's goals for equipment and infrastructure upgrades. This will require a 2/3 vote. We've been doing this now, this is the third year, or the third time. We actually do it for about every 2 years. And we try to talk to our department heads, find out what their needs are, and try to accommodate those needs. And we've found that this works fairly well, because it spreads out our bonding. The bonding people love to see this coming. It looks good on our credit rating, because we are bonding and we are replacing the equipment. We're not letting it deteriorate to the point where it's not usable. So we'd ask you to go along with us and vote this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's much like a car payment. In other words, as the 5-year bonds expire, we renew them and buy more equipment, so it keeps the equipment updated and replaced on a regular basis. So it's a real benefit to the town and to the town departments. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 17.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to be used to pay the interest on the capital equipment borrowing authorized under Article 6 of the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting. 16, I'm sorry. Article 16.
Second. This is just to pay the interest rate on the previous article for the first year. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 1025. Article 18.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town pursuant to General Laws 40-15A, vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to transfer the care, custody, and control of land located off Ice Pond Drive, shown on the Rowley Assessors Map 5, Parcel 9, Lot 10, containing approximately 19,773, 19.7 acres, and also shown as open space on a plan entitled Ice Pond Estates in Rowley, Massachusetts, prepared for Rowley Investment Trust, recorded in the Essex Registry of Deeds at Plan Book 278, page 89, from the Board of Selectmen to the Rowley Conservation Commission for uses authorized under General Laws 40, 8C, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute a deed transferring the care, custody, and control to the Rowley Conservation Commission.
Second.
This requires a 2/3 vote. It's a oversight from going way back when this land should be put in the custody of the Conservation Commission. Any questions? I'll take a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Voice unanimous? Article 19.
Article 19, to see if the town will vote to amend Sections 1 and Section 2 of the Finance Committee bylaw of the general bylaws of the town of Rowley by adding to such sections the words and punctuation marks that appear in bold within parentheses, and by deleting from such section the words and punctuation marks that appear in italics within brackets as shown below. Section 1, there should be a Finance Committee consisting of 7 legal voters of the town of Rowley who should be chosen as hereinafter provided. No election or appointed town officer or town employee shall be eligible to serve on said committee unless the committee, department, board, or commission to which the member belongs or by which the member is employed does not have an annual budget greater than $1,000, or unless the committee was appointed by a town meeting. Section 2, the moderator shall, prior to the beginning of each fiscal year, appoint up to 3 members of said committee for terms of 3 years as the terms expire. The terms of office of said members shall commence on July 16th and shall expire at the end of 3 years, ending July 15th when their successors are appointed. Said committee shall choose its own officers and shall serve without pay, and it shall cause to be kept a true record of its proceeds. 4 committee members at a meeting shall constitute a quorum. So basically, this article is just to reduce the required number of members of the Finance Committee.
Second? Okay. Go ahead.
So this article is just to reduce the number of members of the Finance Committee and the number of members that make up a quorum of the Finance Committee, because we're having trouble getting enough members on the Finance Committee. In fact, if anybody would like to join us, please submit your name tonight. So that's all it is. We won't be able to operate if we don't reduce the numbers here.
Yeah, just a little further, the moderator appoints the members of the Finance Committee, and in the past couple of years, it's been next to impossible to find people willing to serve on the Finance Committee, so in order to have a quorum, we're they're requesting to reduce it down by 2 members, so that's the issue. If we get more people, we wouldn't have to do this, but it's getting harder and harder on all town boards to find people willing to volunteer their time to serve. So, any questions? Be no questions, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Passed. Article, what, 20?
Yes.
Mr. Moderator, Jack Cook, Cemetery Department, Article 20. I move the town vote to amend the cemetery bylaws of the general bylaws of the town of Rowley by deleting Section 7, Section 15, and Section 16, and replacing with a new Section 7, Section 15, and Section 16 as printed in Article 20 on page 12 and 13
of the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting warrant to read as follows. Section 7, excuse me, no structure may be erected in the cemetery unless it rests upon a foundation which is satisfactory to the commissioners, and the commissioners shall lay foundations if desired. For the following prices: all tablets, the bases of which are 18 inches long or less, $75. Bases from 18 inches to 36 inches, $75. And $75 per square foot for monuments. Section 15, the price of cemetery lots to residents of the town shall be $250, $250 per grave, and $500 for 2 grave lots, and for additional graves, $250. $250. Section 16, the price of cemetery lots to non-residents shall be as followed. 1 2-grave lot, 8 foot by 10 foot, $1,500, $1,500, of which $500 shall be placed in the perpetual care fund. The perpetual care fund shall be devoted to the upkeep of the lots so sold.
Do I hear a second?
Just to let the people know in the hall, we haven't, we took a surrounding town of the prices of lots, graves, to families to be sold, and we're still one of the cheapest ones in the area, and we are marking out a new section to design these new plots that'll be lined out for cremations, regular burials, and whatever.
Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? 10:33, we're doing well here. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate or reserve from the Community Preservation Fund fiscal year 2013 annual revenues the amounts recommended by Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, debt service, community preservation projects, and other expenses, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Summary of the recommendations by category are: reserve creation and support of affordable housing, 10%, $14,300. Reserve acquisition and preservation of open space, 10%, $14,300. Reserve acquisition and preservation of historic buildings and landscapes, 10%, $14,300. Administration, 5%, $7,150. Appropriations, debt service for Bradstreet Farm land acquisition, $197,300.
Hear a second?
Second.
Do you want me to spell this? On the CPC Commission, every year we're allowed to accept applications for 4 basic applications for historic preservation, open space, affordable housing. And we are required by law to set aside 10% to each one of those pockets for future applications and use. And that's basically what this article is asking for. Additionally, since we did buy the Bradstreet land and farm, we have to set aside funds for the debt service associated with that purchase. And this will satisfy those requirements.
The Finance Committee recommend, I'm sorry, I've been ignoring you people the last few articles.
Finance Committee recommends.
Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 22.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 32B, Section 20, to establish an other post-employment benefits trust fund to be placed under the custody of the treasurer, to which funds are to be deposited for the purpose of funding non-pension post-employment benefits, such as retiree health insurance premiums.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends.
Let me explain that.
Yeah, brief
Okay.
explanation.
This is basically to start a fund to help us prepare for unfunded mandates or unfunded pension plans for the employees of the town. And that will help reduce I would say, a one-time bill or a one-time fee that would be exorbitant for any retiring person from the town of Rowley. This sets aside those funds so that we can gradually pay pensions and insurance costs to those retired employees.
Just to add, at this point in time, the town's liability for the retirees' health insurance is $227,949.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 23.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to transfer and appropriate the sum of $10,249.80 from the non-pension post-employment benefits account and third quarter interest earned from the non-pension post-employment benefits account, all of which are to be deposited into the other post-employment benefits trust.
Second.
And if I didn't have you there, I don't have you at all.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Basically, it just puts the funds that have been put in the past all together along with the interest earned into the one account, which as we move forward each year, the town will deposit money into that account. Any questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? Article 24.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town to amend Article 24 of the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting warrant, and that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 for the stabilization fund. A little background on this.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Let me just make a
Finance Committee recommends this article.
quick explanation from the moderator. Normally, the moderator does not allow an increase in articles from what's published in the town warrant. So in other words, if a department comes in and puts down $40,000 in their article, the moderator does not allow $50,000 to be spent. In this case, this is actually money we have that we're saving. We're not spending it. We're putting it into basically a savings account for future use. So I'm going to authorize that the expenditure is allowed to be increased. Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, just
one second. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Thank you.
just to explain a little bit on this article. Moody's, the rating agency, requires a AA2 rating for a town our size, which we have. The board felt, for fiscal responsibility and prudence, that we add to our stabilization fund. Last year, we spent $240,000 on snow and ice. This year, we had a very good winter, as we all know. And the budget was $80,000, and we spent approximately $55,000. Now, we started out with $205,000 tonight. We took $73,000 for the police radios. That left us with $132,000. And again, the board felt we added $200,000 into our stabilization, and that will give us $332,000, which, again, this is a prudent move by the board to do this. Again, the rating agencies, they want to see $1 million in our stabilization fund. So I feel this is a very prudent move and fiscally responsible for the town.
Any questions? This requires a two-thirds vote or a voice unanimous. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. And before we do the last article, Article 25, I just want to repeat and thank you people very much for your attention tonight. It's been an enjoyable, relatively speaking, for me to be up here and going through this warrant, and the town employees and the Board of Selectmen and our administrative people, Judy Pickett, our attorney, we appreciate your attention and your concern, and we did some good work here tonight. And in general, I think the town is in really, really good shape, and it's because of the work that town officials do, and it's the work and the attention that you people pay in putting together the work in these town meetings. So the last thing I would ask you to do is, we've been kind of become a tradition, is when we adjourn the meeting, if you could pick up your chairs and those around you and bring them back and put them on the racks back there. It saves the school custodians a lot of work because they got to get the school ready for the kids 8 o'clock in the morning. So with that, I'll take Article 25. Yes. Thank you very much, and with that, I'll take Article 25.
Mr. Moderator, I move to meet in St. Mary's Church Hall, Route 1A in Rowley on Tuesday, May 8th, 2012, at 12 noon, to act on the list of printed in Article 25 on page 15 of the April 30th, 2012 Annual Town Meeting warrant.
Mr. Moderator, I will second that.
Thank you. Made and seconded that we adjourn, that we meet St. Mary's for the election. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. 10:43. We shot for 11 o'clock. We're early. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Somebody's going to make the motion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to adjourn the April 30th, 2012 annual town meeting.
Second.
Second.
That's the 100,000.
All those in favor, I think you already voted. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much,
No,
everybody.
well, it was a legitimate, but now.